moving the Grinch closer to me, so he'll just be right there. Anyway, welcome to Soulful Stories with Stacey. You know, Mom let me know that there are a lot of people on here that have story time with Stacey. There's like 3 story times with Stacey, so we had to do soul stories with Stacey on Sunday. So I'm going to give y'all a few minutes because I am early, because I always show up early typically rather than late. I don't like being late. And I look forward to seeing you all when I come on here. This is an amazing community, and I want to thank everyone. Mr. Samenbeard, it's good to see you this morning. How are you doing this fine day? This Sunday. You're the first one here. Awesome. So yeah, I have stories for you today, or a story for you today. This isn't a story that I wrote. Epic! Woohoo! Yay! It's good to see y'all. Hello. I'm doing great too. I'm healing from 5 Tabano bites that I had, that I got on Friday morning. I know, right? I get to be a gypsy today. Hey, darling. Thank y'all so much. This was a gift. My friend Soraya went to Iran. If she says it's Iran, not Iran. Some people say, you're right. 30 minutes are over, Mr. Samenbeard. So she went to Iran. And so she brought me back this bandana and she brought me back these earrings. So I'm dressed according to Soraya today. But I've been wanting to wear this scarf. Thank you. And it's a great gift. I'm so glad. She got to go before all the war started. So I'm glad that, thank you so much. I'm glad that she was able to get over there and get out before. So anyway, but she brought me back some amazing scarves from Iran. So, yeah. So I'm excited I finally get to wear it for you all. I know. A lot of people have some feelings about it. But, our story today and what we're going to talk about today is really to connect us. And this is why we don't talk about politics and religion and all of this on here. Hi, George. How are you? Thank you. That's why we don't talk about those things, because those things can be so divisive and separating. And really, we are all people. I liked a song that Pink wrote one time, and it says we're all pink inside, because that's the reality. No worries, it's okay. We are all pink inside. It don't matter where we come from in this world, is that we all are souls, and that's what our story is going to be about today, is souls. Thank you, darling, for those hearts. Good. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I know, right? I know. Yeah. It's tough over there, and I'm so grateful for freedom. We are so lucky. So let's just, wherever we are in the world, if we have some freedom, that we can be grateful. Thank you. So, here pretty soon I'll start on story time. Our story today, I didn't write. It's a story that I'm going to share about and offer some different perspectives, kind of finishing our week out today. So, I've got my notes here, and it looks like some people are here. So our story today, sometimes we begin life with one intention, and we may not even realize the intention. So only to forget who we are. We forget who we are when we start in this life. We get programmed by different aspects, either at home with our parents, or either at school with people, or at church, or society at large. The media, programs a lot of things in us that make us feel good enough or not good enough. So over the last week, we've been talking about what do you really want, and what you want coming from faith or fear, because sometimes we want instant gratification, because if we have a lot of fears that need to be healed, oftentimes we just want to get something right now. Instant gratification, and certainly the media encourages that. Buy it now, and a lot of times we are shopping as an addiction. As I've said, my name is Stacey Renee. I'm a mindset coach, and I deal with, my specialty is addiction recovery, codependency, and grief. And so we're going to be talking about grief somewhat today. But I know that all of those things, growing through that journey, helped me to be where I am today. And it helped me dealing with my codependency helped me to deal with grief a lot better than I would have. And so, what I want to say today is that we're all on a growth journey, or not, you know. And so, when we realize, as we look at life, how precious, because I did have a few people come in here. One person came in, this past week that said they didn't know how to grieve, because we're taught in certain, cultures and everything how to grieve. And somebody, just a few people were grieving. And so as we grow through this today, bear with me and stick with me here, okay? So we talked about what do you really want. We explored whether your desires come from faith or fear. And one of our greatest fears is the fear of being hurt. That's what is driving. So we also talked about on Friday night, what's driving you, So that way we can get in alignment with what we fear. Oh, Lizzie, you're about to go. You're welcome to stay, but Kim will put you out if you talk ugly. So, because this is a loving community. So if you're going to hate, you probably have to go, but you're welcome to stay. And maybe this will help you. Okay? All right. I knew it. She going to go. You don't talk bad about me with Kim around. She got my back, y'all. So, or be rude. So we talked about healing as we explored what we want, encouraging ourselves not to dismiss those desires because of fear or because of all the what ifs. So we talked about what if on Wednesday, because a lot of times we may want to have a desire or have a goal or have a want, and then we talk ourselves out with, well, what if this or what if that? And we more what ifs towards the catastrophizing side than the possibility side. So we talked about getting to those possibilities and recognizing the catastrophizing. So sometimes we're driven by hurt, resentment, or even spite. Some people are like, I'm going to show them. I know I used to be that way in my emotional immaturity. I'm going to show them. And some people have. Hi, Lizzie. Well, good. I hope that this will help you today. Is it possible to grieve preemptively? You mean in expectations of losing somebody because you're all out of gas? Oh, I don't understand, Epic. So I'm going to keep going because I don't understand what that means. You can explain it to me. So then Friday night, we talked about what's driving you. Some people are driven by hurt, resentment, or even spite, only to discover that those motivations usually and eventually leave us empty. Just sort of watching things. Yes, this will, I think, put you in touch with why we're here. Because that's the thing is, going from worthless to purpose. No, I don't play with demonic tarot cards. I don't think that all tarot cards are demonic. So I don't know what you mean, but, I guess it's the gypsy look today. So I think it's kind of cool, though, but whatever. You're welcome, Jurian, to be here. So we're talking about, this is soul stories with me today, and we're going to, get to a story here, but I always lead into the story with a little bit of dialogue and a recap of the week. So the healing we talk about on this channel calls for forgiveness on many levels. A lot of times it's forgiveness of ourselves for what happened to us and letting that have power over us, right? Is remembering who we are. That's basically what we get down to on this channel, is to remember who we are, Epic. And you came here with the purpose. I used to think I was worthless and then realized I do have a purpose. So learning to forgive isn't easy, and it doesn't mean pretending that we weren't hurt or believing that the pain simply disappears because we decide to forgive. Because a lot of people do that, intellectually forgive, right? It's like, oh, I forgive them. And then they do the same thing, or they do, because usually a lot of dysfunctional relationships are someone hurts you, and then, you get all puffy and pouty and da-da-da-da-da, and then, you stay mad for a while, and then you forgive, say, I forgive you, and then everybody thinks that they're going to go on, and then the same thing happens, and then that wound is reopened again. So it doesn't mean that we're creating survival skills. Hurt or believing the pain simply disappears because we decide to forgive. I've been in different processes. Forgiveness happens in different levels and layers. At least it has for me. Matthew, you're welcome to stay here, but we don't talk like that on here. And we're talking about the topic today. And if hopefully this will help you. But if not, then Kim's going to put you out, because that's not what we talk about here. So Forgiveness is a process, and it means creating, it doesn't mean creating the survival skills to shut people out, or doesn't mean allowing ourselves to be hurt over and over again. That's not what forgiveness is. It's levels and layers, as I was saying. Thanks, Epic. So it's levels and layers, as I was saying, because first off, I used to intellectually forgive, and the same thing. It's okay. Thank you for apologizing. So it's in different levels and layers, It's like I used to intellectually forgive, then the same thing happened, and I'd get frustrated, and then I got into this villainization and victimization, and it was just like, and it was the same story, different day, and then I started perceiving that this was happening because of me, because I was stupid, or because of this, or because of that. And I was taking, control over something I didn't have control over, and I was internalizing it, taking it personally. And so then I had to come to another layer. So it's like, oh, forgiveness really means forgiveness. So then I subjected myself to hurt again, trauma bonding, and so that's not forgiveness, subjecting yourself to trauma bonding again. It means that you can forgive that person, but you don't have to forgive the act, and you don't have to leave yourself open for that act again. So it happens on many levels and layers, forgiveness. And we'll all be hurt in this lifetime. When I did a video here, or we did a live here a while back that said, are you a victim? And if you're breathing, you've probably been a victim of something. But do we stay a victim? We have a saying in recovery that victims stay victims. Are we going to stay a victim and martyr, right? And so that's a part of grief too, because certainly, when we have to grieve something, sometimes we grieve things that are living, sometimes we grieve things that have died. And maybe a part of that living experience has died. Like maybe that's part of what's going on, with Epic or something like that. We can get discouraged with life when we feel like we're grieving and we don't know how to grieve. So the story today is going to talk somewhat about that, and I'm going to exchange something, I think. We're going to try something different today, because that's what we like to do, because if one thing isn't working, try something different. So this is why we have boundaries with love. Boundaries means I'm not going to subject myself to something, but I don't have to take it personal. We don't talk about religion a whole lot here, but John London was talking about there's certain things that are, that have been religious quotes. Like Jesus saying, when you go in someplace and they don't appreciate you or respect you, just dust your feet off and go on. So what I come up with that, my meaning of that is, it's not important for me to be, for them to be wrong, for me to be right. That's what I said, is it's not important for them to be wrong, for me to be right. You see what I'm saying? I don't have to build a case against somebody to prove that I'm right. Okay, so recently we talked about grief. Okay, I didn't finish that. I've got my notes here so I can see your comments. So we allow our experiences to become catalysts for our growth. Healing boundaries, acknowledging the pain, and allowing the pain not to define our worth. Like I just said, is maybe someone did not treat me well, but I don't have to allow that pain to define my worth. That's what the healing process is me knowing who I am and not giving power to somebody else to define my worth. Remembering who I am. So we allow experiences to become catalysts for growth rather than evidence of our value. Okay? We feel it, we heal it, we bless it, and we let it go. There's just a lot to be upset by. I feel like I had my moment of feeling things, and now I'm just pretty pragmatic about things unless I choose to indulge in a little sadness. Yeah. There will be sadness, and that's not all bad, because it does mean we're alive. We just don't need to stay there, because life is unlimited. We're going to be sad, we're going to be happy, we can be ecstatic, because on the other side of feeling really low is ecstasy. And we can do that while we're living. We don't have to wait to die to do that, to have ecstasy, what some people's belief systems. So we respect all belief systems here. And so sometimes we just, hopefully this will help today. I don't know if it will or won't, but sometimes we just need a little nudge or a different thought or perspective about something. And, when I started this channel like 5-6 years ago, maybe longer, I'm a life coach, and I help people organize their thoughts and decorate their perspectives, because I know for me, I had to do that. And when I used to organize and decorate in Texas, I would go work with what people already had in their house and organize what they had, but then as, turning it to coaching is that I always got close to people. And they may hire me for a week or two, and I'd end up there for 3 years or more. you know? And so helping people navigate what they want to get the clutter out of their mind, so that's where we are. So recently we talked about grief, loss, and the mystery. We feel it, heal it, bless it, and we let it go. And not to forget, but so that it no longer blocks us from the love that already exists within our soul. That's why we heal it, we feel it, we heal it, we bless it, and we let it go. Epic. So recently we've talked about grief, loss, and the mystery of what happens after we leave this life. We've considered some of the what ifs through conversations like what dreams may come and the possibility of our souls continuing beyond this life. Many faith traditions hold hope that we will see our loved ones again. Sometimes we feel there was unfinished business when someone leaves us far too soon, So after my son passed away, my own counselor shared something that brought me comfort. She suggested that perhaps my son chose me because he knew I could love him deeply and eventually let him go. She wondered if in some way we had agreed to this soul's adventure before either of us arrived here. And whether you believe it or not isn't the point, okay? When I've talked before about the possibility that we choose our parents or that certain people enter our lives or for reasons we don't yet understand, it reminds me of the story that we're going to listen to today that I'm going to share excerpts of you with. This is a story written by Neil Donald Walsh, who wrote a few books, Conversations with God. So today I'm going to change the word God. I believe in God and everything, and I know that a lot of us do, but to bring comfort, something that I'm doing great. Thank you, Traveling Unseen. I hope that you're going to stay along. So I'm about to get to story time. So we're going to change the word God to love, because I know one time a lot of people here, this is why we don't talk about religion, is a lot of people have been, religiously abused, that they've been taught certain things and had to, and been religiously abused. And that's sad. But God is love to me. I was brought up with one of those punishing gods, and God was not very loving far as, love was just giving me my life. And I was lucky to be here. But life on life's terms, there's a lot of feelings that go along with it, right, Epic? There's a lot of feelings that go along with life on life's terms. Jen. Thank you. That's what I try to do, is to help people be more open to this unlimitedness, because I know that it helped me to learn that. So thank you. So while life is a series of learning experiences, and for me, God is love now. When I got into recovery 29 years ago, God was far removed. You can express your beliefs, but commenters tend to be unhinged. Doesn't bother me. Okay, good. Thank you, Epic. Yeah, I want to be respectful of everybody, because some people may even call God by a different name, and I think that it's great that we believe in something that's going to be our source and our strength, so what we all want and what we all are is love. Now, I know it's going to be hard to believe that some people are loved, because some people have forgotten who they are, and if they forget who they are, they're going to forget who we are. Right, Jen? God is the source, the vital life force. We can't control if we're, or if we're going to live or die, or when. And we can't control when anyone else is either. And that's what we're getting to. Okay. What life is a series of learning experiences. What if both the joyful moments and the painful ones are inviting us to ask, what is this here to teach me? Okay. So one of the greatest lessons I've learned through losing my son is that every one of us will hurt someone at some point, whether we intend to or not. We will be hurt at some point, whether someone intends to hurt us or not. Most people don't wake up hoping to cause pain. Some people do make choices that are deeply harmful, and I don't pretend to understand why. I don't know whether every relationship is part of some soul agreement or whether some things simply happen in a broken world, Epic. There's so much we can't know. There's so much we just don't know. What I do know is what lives in my soul. That is what I have power over, is how my soul grows. So I feared losing my son, and I prayed for divine order over his life. I still lost him, and he had his own will, his own path, and I believe he and God had an agreement that I wasn't a part of, you know? So this Friday, it would have been this Friday coming up, because life and existence are fighting words. I believe in God, but I don't believe he is benevolent. Well, that's okay. That is okay. So I'm so grateful that I had the privilege to, this Friday coming up on the 17th would have been his 34th birthday. But he'll always be 18 to me. Let me get a drink, hold on. He'll always be 18. I'm so grateful that I had the privilege of being his mom. Just a sec. I tell y'all gotta cry, you cry, okay? And I'll be back in a minute. Just give me a minute here. All right. I'm so grateful that I had the privilege of being his mom for the time that I did. He and his sister saved my life because I love them more than I love myself. And I wish I could have saved him, but I couldn't. He had his own agreement, you know, so sometimes we don't get to choose that for other people. So what I can do is honor him, and this is what we can all do for our loved ones, whether they're living or gone. And sometimes they have to be gone. You know, some people have to have, you know, no contact with people when they can't, you know, respect loving boundaries, okay? So I can smile when I speak his name. A lot of times I tell people stories about him all the time. Hello, Jorge. So I can tell of the beautiful young man that he was. I can continue loving him instead of only grieving him. I still love him. I still sense his presence, almost like a guardian angel walking beside me. July 30th will be my daughter's 9th memorial. She will be forever 17. Aw, I'm so glad you're here. I don't know. I hope that this story will help you today. But I feel you, Jen. 9th memorial. Yeah. See, we don't have control over those things. We want to, but we just don't sometimes. So until then, I choose to honor the life I've been given. Thank you. I choose to stay here as long as I can. There's more adventures to have, healing to do, and opportunities to know my soul more deeply. So one day his body, you know, this body, my body, will grow tired, but I believe my soul will continue. I may not remember every detail of this life, but I do believe that how I love, how I forgive, and how I live today somehow echoes what comes next. Yes. Yes, it is epic. Okay, so now we're going to get into the story. Let me take a drink of this water. This story is a story by Neil Donald Walsh, and it's a children's story. And so he wrote, like I said, the book's Conversations with God. And, you know, I want you to kind of, one time in the church that I went to, they changed the word God for love, because a lot of people, when they hear the word God, they think of, ooh, punishment. And, you know, we talked was it last week or the week before? We talked about punishing adults. I talked to a client yesterday about punishing adults. You know, that's a big deal. Is sometimes when we do things for spite, sometimes and then punishing adults, this is sometimes people's connection with source. That's the belief system. So that's what we do here. Is if a belief system isn't working for us, we work on how can I change my belief system, because if I change my belief system, things will change. But if I keep my belief system the same, things will stay the same. So I want you to entertain that God, we're going to use the word love for God, you know, because God is love to me, epic. That's what God is to me, is love. And that love is inside of me. I had to learn that with my broken hearts. Thank you, Kim. I feel them. I had to learn that with my broken hearts. Ah, thank you. Thanks, Hannah. That every time my heart's been broken, I learned to love more, not less, not to harden my heart. But it took a while because I did harden my heart. I built a force field around myself from that hurt. And I had to learn, so substituting love for God. So if you can think of God that way instead of punishing. I know I grew up in a church where it was like, you're going to hell. And a lot of people don't want to hear that, Be still and know. Thank you, Hannah. Be still and know. So, we talked about on Friday night that do not fear is in the Bible 365 times. Now, I read all kinds of literature. Like I said, I believe God speaks to many people or source. That's why I say source sometimes too, because some people were beat. They were beat. And there's different perspectives. The parents might have had perspectives. Different people have perspectives. So we're going to call God love today. But know that when I say love, I mean God. I just think he's indifferent. We're just cogs in a large machine. We are all cogs in a large machine. That is true. So this story is called Little Soul in the Sun. Okay? No, I don't have an East Coast accent, darling. Cheese Worlds. I have a Texas accent. I'm very Southern. But now I'm even more Southern because now I'm sitting near Cancun, Mexico. So this story is called Little Soul in the Sun by Neil Donald Walsh, and you can listen to it here on YouTube also. There's a lot of different narrations, so I don't have the whole story. I have different parts, excerpts, okay? Yes, that's why today we're going to call God love, because I don't know that particular one know about that, but I love that it's being about love, because we're going to call God love today, because I respect all faiths that are on here. Not everybody calls God by God, but they may have their source. So as a mindset coach, we reach people where they're at, and they don't have to believe like I believe, but I'm grateful when people do believe, whatever they believe, whatever's going to give them strength to make it through this hard life, like Epic says. I know that my faith helps me deal with it, a lot. So here's an excerpt from it that's really powerful to me, and I want you to think about this. Fort Worth, Texas. Yes, ma'am. Hello, Luna Scorza. Lola. Okay, that's a Luna. Is it Lola Luna? Okay. So this says, this is not a dating channel. Thank you, Kim. So I know what I want to be. This is the little soul. So let's take a deep breath. And then I want you to picture, this is the excerpt of the story that I want you to hear. Okay, so let's take a deep breath in. And release. Breathe in. And release. So this is an excerpt from the little soul in the sun. So I know what I want to be. The little souls announced to love, to God, with great excitement. I want to be part of something special called forgiving. Isn't it special to be forgiving? Oh, yes, God said, assured the little soul. That is very special. Okay, said the little soul, that's what I want to be. I want to be forgiven. I want to experience myself as that. Good, said love. But there's one thing you should know. The little soul was becoming a bit impatient now. It always seemed as though there were some kind of complication. What is it? The little soul sighed. There's no one to forgive. No one? The little soul could hardly believe what had been said. No one? No one, God repeated. Love repeated. Everything I've made is perfect. There's not a single soul in all creation less perfect than you. Look around you. It was then that the little soul realized a large crowd had gathered. Souls had come from far and wide, from all over the kingdom. For the word had gone forth, this little soul was having this extraordinary conversation with love. And everyone wanted to hear what they were saying. Looking at the countless other souls gathered, the little soul had to agree. None appeared less wonderful, less magnificent, or less perfect than the little soul itself. Such was the wonder of the souls gathered around. So bright was their light, and the little soul could scarcely gaze upon them. Woe, then to forgive, asked love. Boy, this is going to be no fun at all, grumbled the little soul. I wanted to experience myself as one who forgives. I wanted to know what that special part felt like. And the little soul learned that what it must feel like to be sad. But just then a friendly soul stepped forward from the crowd. Not to worry, little soul, the friendly soul said. I will help you. You will? The little soul brightened. But what can you do? Why, I can give you something to forgive. Right? You can? Certainly, chirped the friendly soul. I can come into your next lifetime and do something for you to forgive. But why? Why would you do that? The little soul asked. You, who are a being of such utter perfection, you who vibrate with such a speed that it creates a light so bright that I can hardly gaze upon you. What could cause you to want to slow down your vibration to such a speed that your bright light would become dark and dense? What could cause you, who are so light that you dance upon the stars and move through the kingdom with the speed of your thought, to come into my life and make yourself so heavy that you could do this bad thing? Simple, said the friendly soul. I would do it because I love you. And the little soul seemed surprised at the answer. Don't be amazed, said the friendly soul. You have done the same thing for me. Don't you remember? Oh, we have danced together, you and I, many times. Through the eons and across all the ages have we danced. Across all time and in many places have we played together. You just don't remember. We have both been all of it. We have been up and down it, to the left and the right of it. We've been here and there of it, and now and then of it. We've been the male and the female, the good and the bad. We've been both the victim and the villain of it. Thus have we come together, you and I, many times before, each bringing to the other the exact and perfect opportunity to express and experience who we really are. And so the friendly soul explained further, I will come to you in your next lifetime and be the bad one. This time, I'll be the bad one this time. I'll do something really terrible, and then you can experience yourself as the one who forgives. But what will you do? The little soul asked. That will be so terrible. Oh, replied the friendly soul with a twinkle, we'll think of something. Then the friendly soul seemed to turn serious and said in a quiet voice, You're right about one thing, you know. I will have to slow down my vibration to become very heavy to do this not so nice thing. I will have to pretend to be something very unlike myself. And so I have but one favor to ask of you in return. Oh, anything, cried the little soul, and began to dance and sing. I get to be forgiving. I get to be forgiving. Then the little soul saw that the friendly soul was remaining very quiet. What is it? The little soul asked. What can I do for you? You're such an angel to be willing to do this for me. Of course, this friendly soul said, as an angel. And love interrupted. Everyone always is. And always remember, I've sent nothing but angels. And the soul wanted more than nothing else to grant the friendly little soul's request. "What can I do for you?" the little soul asked. "In the moment that I strike you and smite you," the friendly soul replied. "In the moment that I do the worst to you that you could possibly imagine, in that very moment." "Yes," the little soul interrupted. "Yes. Remember who I really am," said the friendly soul. "Oh, I will," cried the little soul. "I promise. I will always remember to see you as right here, right now." "Good," said the friendly soul, "because you see, I will have been pretending so hard, I will have forgotten myself. And if you do not remember me as I really am, I may not be able to remember for a very long time and forget who I am. You may even forget who you are, and we will both be lost. Then we will need another soul to come along to remind us of who we are." "No, we won't," the little soul promised. "I'll remember you, and I will thank you for bringing me this gift, a chance to experience myself as who I am." And so the agreement was made, and the little soul went forth into a new lifetime, excited to be the light, which was very special, and excited to be a part of that specialness called forgiveness. And the little soul waited anxiously to be able to experience itself as forgiveness, and to thank whatever other soul made it possible. And at all the moments in that new lifetime, whenever a new soul appeared on the scene, whether the new soul brought joy or sadness, and especially if it brought sadness, the little soul thought of what love had said. "Always remember, God love had smiled. I've sent you nothing but angels." So here's the summary of this. The story begins with the little soul who lives in a place of pure light, where every soul already knows who they truly are. One day the little soul joyfully declares to God, Source, love, "I know who I am." And love responds with delight, asking, "Who are you?" The little soul answers, "I am light." And love explains that while this is true, in a place where everyone is light, it's difficult to experience being light because there's nothing to compare it to. So the little soul wants more knowledge, and it wants experience, and it wants to actually feel what it's like to be something specific. And after thinking, the little soul decides, "I want to experience forgiveness." And then love smiles but explains there is a challenge. If there is to be forgiveness, someone must first do something that needs forgiven. And the little soul becomes quiet, realizing, this is true. Just then, another soul volunteers to help. And the friendly soul says, "I'll go with you. I'll pretend to do something terrible to you so you can experience forgiveness." And the little soul is grateful, but asks, why would anyone choose to do something so painful? And the friendly soul explains that it's an act of incredible love. Then the friendly soul asks one more promise. "When I come into this life and do this thing, remember who I truly am, who I really am. And don't forget that I'm only pretending." So sometimes other people forget who they are, and that's why they hurt us. That's why we're hurt. Sometimes we forget who we are. So love reminds them that every soul comes from perfect love. We all come from perfect love. And that what appears to happen on earth is much part of a bigger picture, and remembering who we truly are. So the heart of this story today is, I think, one of the most beautiful lessons, and one that fits so well with your with this is that this story is not about excusing harmful behavior or telling people to remain in abusive situations. Instead, it asks us a deeper question, this story does. What if every experience, even painful ones, offers an opportunity to remember who we truly are? Forgiveness isn't saying what happened was okay. Forgiveness is saying, I refuse to let what happened determine who I become, who I am. It's not who I am. So it talked about a victim and villain, which we've talked about before. And in between, we've all, sometimes even people that hurt us, they were victims at one time, and we don't need to hurt them further. It doesn't mean that they need to, that they need to be a part of what's going on with us if we're trying to rise. But it means that we don't have to judge them. That, we've talked about judgment and discernment. And so it's not up to us to judge, because what if we had a soul agreement with that person to rise above? Hurt people hurt people. We have to remember the ones that hurt us are truly hurting. Absolutely. And they may not be willing to grow from that hurt, but we can grow from our hurt. I can forgive anyone even on even footing, but I don't forgive the source. Right. So it's like you don't have to forgive what they did to you, but knowing that the person was a hurt person, we don't have to retaliate. We don't have to act as a victim, because we'll stay a victim if we act as a victim. See, the victim part reminds us that we need healing. Shelter's around. Pray my husband and children permanent job. I do pray they get a permanent job. I pray for a lot of people who are struggling with jobs. So this story suggests that every challenge invites us to choose qualities like compassion, courage, patience, kindness, and love. Not because the other person deserves it, but because these qualities already exist within us. I have love within me, and this is what, through coaching, that I had to remember every time I was heartbroken, was that love was me. I would think that person had my love. I would be like, but I saw into their eyes. I even said that one. But I saw into their eyes the love. And she's like, Stacey, that's your own love. The words in the book are just words, but the author is unforgivable. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Well, it's not my business. I had to learn in codependency, and like I say, the codependency helped me to deal with my own grief. That I knew that I had no control or no power, and if we know we have no control or no power, then we aren't trying to punish other people, because it's not up to me to punish other people. I don't have to be a part of other people's life, and they may consider that a punishment, because my joy isn't hinged on another person, you see. But I do have a lot of people in my life that bring joy to me. It's a tough fight to pick, but it gives me purpose, absolutely. Just showing up as we are. When you can be hurt and still show up as love, that's a huge thing. Not to have that armor on, And I think that's what this tells us, is just to remember who we are, that you are love. There's things that are going to happen to us. There's things that are going to happen through us. And if we learn to make the choices, I've been talking to my best friends and things like this in the past week, and I've been proud of myself, making good choices. Grinch don't like me to click the pins either. Grinch has some control issues. But, being in charge of my choices, being in my power, not giving the ones that hurt me so much power that I'm walking around with an armor on, but that the wisdom to know the difference between me and them, the way they behave, the way they might have treated me isn't an indication of that's who I am. And I had to learn that. I didn't always know that. I had to learn that people behave. That's what I learned in codependency. People behave the way that they behave because that's the way they behave, and it's not an indication of who I am. It's an indication of their own hurt, their own wounds. And we are drawn to people. Somebody asked me last week about what book that was on TikTok, Jen. That children's story was some pretty deep stuff. Think I will spend the rest of the day digesting and reflecting on this. Absolutely, Jen. You can look at that story, and it could be told better by, the narrators who picked that story. It's called The Little Soul in the Sun, So if you want to listen to it again where it's not as broke up, and everything. So there's certainly some good things if you want to. And it is hard. And my thoughts are to you. My heart goes out to you, for the 30th, okay? So, protocol. Boundaries and separation isn't a bad thing. At least I don't think it is. And God, no, it's not. It's not. Boundaries are very important to have. Boundaries sense love for you and love. Boundaries are how we create honor, right? Protocol. Boundaries are how we create honor, because I honor myself and honor someone else when I have healthy boundaries. That doesn't mean walls. There's, the survival skills to where we just cut people off when we're behaving in flight, fight, or freeze from our central nervous system, that maybe we haven't acknowledged our body. A lot of people abuse their bodies when they're hurt, when they're reaching for instant gratification to make them feel better. And so when we're able to feel our feelings, we can begin healing. And sometimes it does call for us to have that separation, but we don't have to be mean about it. You know what I was saying earlier, it's not important to me for them to be wrong, for me to be right. Is that it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't. Greetings, my glove. It's just we need rainy days to, absolutely epic. That's absolutely true. We do need rainy days to appreciate the sunny ones. Why do you wish you were never born? Why? I understand that a lot of times people wish they were never born. But you're very welcome, Jen. You're very welcome. McGlove, without boundaries, people would walk all over you. Absolutely. I had to learn boundaries. It wasn't something that I learned growing up. I didn't learn boundaries growing up. I had to learn boundaries through working on my codependency and having those boundaries with myself. Sometimes we need to get comfortable with the boundaries. Okay, bye. I hope that you feel better. Sometimes we need to get boundaries with ourselves, and then we feel more comfortable setting them with somebody else. Boundaries with myself means I'm not going to people please today. Just telling yourself one day, I'm not going to people please. Because the problem with people pleasing is that we don't value other people's, their opinions, their appreciation. We don't value their appreciation if we don't learn to appreciate ourselves. Be not, rejoicing in the suffering brings peace, because life is a mountaintop and valleys. It's never going to be mountaintops every day. That's right. It will not be mountaintops every day. It will not. So life on life's terms is like, I've said before, like our breath that rises and falls, inhales and exhales, our heartbeat that, rises and falls. Everything ascends and descends, and sometimes we can take that stuff personally, or we cannot. We may take it personally at first because we are on this life's journey, as in that story. We're on this life's journey, and we do take things very seriously. And I'm not saying that we don't take things seriously, but in between seriousness and just foolishness is humor. And it doesn't mean that it's humor to laugh at things that are inappropriate. Although if you've, struggled with PTSD, then sometimes that happens. Sometimes people with PTSD do laugh at things that are inappropriate. I know I used to teach martial arts, and some police officers' children were in my martial arts class, and they have a whacked sense of humor to a degree, but it's that being able to, of non-attachment, that we talk about too. So, epic. Ultimately, life's a lesson, but for those that don't remember signing up for class, wishing we'd never been born is the stance we take. I like that. That's very true. That's very true. We're taking it personally, right? And that's the thing, is that what if we chose this life? And what if these things that are coming at us in this life are those people that we had agreements with in another life, that they've shown up? That's the moral of this story, is what if these people that show up in our life that challenge us, or that things hurt, what if we were with them in another life? And, hear me out, because not everybody believes in incarnation. Some people believe in going to heaven. Some people believe in incarnations. I myself used to wonder, how are so many people going to fit up in heaven? But this is coming from my limited sense, right? That's what I used to wonder, though, and being all honest. This is why we don't talk about religions here, because there's so many different concepts. But, I used to wonder this. So I do like to believe, think about incarnations. And, I had a friend, one of the sponsees that I worked with, who was dying of cancer. And I worked with her for a long time. People asked Stacey, because I would spend 18-hour days with her when she was dying, And people would say, Stacey, why are you doing that? And I would be like, because she's hungry for this. She wants this. Because I worked all 12 steps in addiction recovery with her. And then I worked 10 steps with her on codependency before she got really sick. And she wanted to know. And one time she was talking about her ex-husband. She's like, going on. And I said, girl, I hope you're able to forgive him or else you get to do this in your next life. And she's like, oh, I didn't think about that. And so she did. She learned to forgive him. Now, it might have only been on that intellectual level. You know, it might have been a more soulful level. That was her business. But, you know, some of the things that we feel like we need to forgive people for are our perceptions, you know, of what it was. But forgiveness is a thing because love is forgiveness. And it's not to subject yourself to more pain, boundaries, loving boundaries. I say loving boundaries. When we act as love and honor, you know, that marriage with ourself is important too, to love and honor ourselves. And when we love and honor ourselves, we're going to love and honor others, whether they're a part of our life or not a part of our life. We're not going to give them the power of our life. Freddie Mercury gets it. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Bernard, our character is built on valleys because everyone enjoys the mountaintop feelings. Absolutely, Jen. Valleys mostly, but I suppose it is the perspective. Yes, yes, it is. Chodion, good morning, Chodion. Epic. But if a prime mover set in motion, please reference Kill Bill for the ending to the thread. Those movies were so violent for me to watch. I could not. Kill Bill. Bernard, forgiveness removes the bitterness in your heart. If you don't, you will carry that disease and spread it to people who interact with you in your job, in your life, by reacting and not responding. Absolutely. I absolutely agree, Bernard. That's true. That's true. Protocol, if you don't let go, you will destroy yourself and others inside and out. And that's right. Here's the thing, y'all. Anger, bitterness, hate. If you feel like somebody's done that to you and you carry that, that's going to turn into toxicity within you. Because you release chemicals, hormones, and there's these secretions, all this stuff that's going on in your body. It's not just your mind. And this is why people will abuse their bodies sometimes, is they're so stuck in their mind. You know, and your body has the capability to do so many things. You know, we want to align with our divine mind, and that comes from the breath that's in our body. Your central nervous system is your respiratory, your digestive, and your heart, your cardiovascular. All of that is linked to this. And when you experience a feeling of hate, it's limiting. But if you can experience forgiveness, that's more expansive. And what that means is that, again, not giving people your power. If you have faith in a power greater than yourself, what would that have you do? Would you call it love or would you call it punishment? And this is why we called it love today. Because I don't believe, for me, as my relationship, like your relationship with your partner, your relationships are intended to grow and expand. Because like was said, the mountaintop, people like the mountaintop. The thing is that you have to grow through the valleys to get to the mountaintop. And it's forever a journey, because there's always going to be a taller mountaintop to get to. And some are going to seem impossible. And the final one is the one that you're finally at and you're not here anymore. Okay? So it's just the rise and the fall in between. There's times we think, I just can't make it. But we keep going. You know, and I know in my grief that, you know, there was that Kelly Clarkson and Jeff Beck. The late Jeff Beck did a song called Up to the Mountain on one of the, you know, those things. And it was so beautiful. And it just put me in touch with those tears, Epic. It put me in touch with those tears. Jesus, my Lord and Savior, brings me to the right way. Jesus is cool. Jesus is. And yeah, what would Jesus do? Jesus didn't try to defend himself when he felt like people were persecuting him. Jesus is just like, because he knew he had his power. He knew he had his power, right? And just as I said earlier, you know, just dusting our feet off when people can't appreciate us and going on, not judging them, not thinking there's something wrong with them or something wrong with us. You see? Because you were born divine. We talked about that Friday night. We are divine. So I'm going to close with this before we get into our breathing, okay? Whether you hear this story as a spiritual truth or simply as a beautiful metaphor, because it's a metaphor, really, we don't know. I believe it asks us to consider something profound. It's even more unbelievable he still actually loved them and that hated him. Yes, I did have to learn forgiveness to deal with my loss, but I can't forget about it. Oh, no, no, Jen. You can see I haven't forgot about it. And I can tell you my son got his name. My great grandma was 96 when she passed away. I do believe I have my great grandma's stock in her. And, for a long time, I didn't even know she had a son. I didn't even know my great grandma had been divorced back in those days. My great grandma was born in 1899. Well, the people here aren't to blame, all victims of the same car crash, right? So, anyway, my great grandma, she would cry. I would go see her at the nursing home. Anger is a weapon to learn to control it. Yes, I do believe that. You're exactly right. So when I would go and see her in the nursing home, one day she was crying and she's like talking about her baby boy, Calvin. That's my son's name. And he died when he was 3 years old. 3 years old. He had pneumonia and he was blind. And he died. And, she was like in her 90s still crying about Calvin, her Calvin. So sometimes we're going to cry. Sometimes we're going to cry, Jen. And that's a sign of our love, too. That's a sign of love, too. Is when babies are born, we cry. When people die, we cry. And it's a natural, healthy thing to experience grief. A lot of people don't want to experience it. They don't know how to experience it. And sometimes they will kill themselves with toxins, not understanding. Because sometimes we grieve the living things. Sometimes when people disrespect us and it hurts us, we can't be a part of their lives. It's not something wrong with us. We have to remember who we are, that you are loved and you deserve to be loved. That's the bottom line. Bottom line is love. No matter how bad people piss us off. I'm love. I am love. And not to forget that and give anybody else the power to make me feel any less. That's why y'all don't see me getting upset about this when there's some crazy comments on here, because that's not who I am. It's not indicative of who I am, is what I'm saying. So, what if the experiences we resist the most are also the ones that invite us to look deeper within ourselves? Because the thing is that we are profound, we are unlimited, we are multifaceted, and there is a rebirth. We're all of it, though. It's about directing the negative energies into the right direction up top. Yeah, because the negative energies are the call for us to learn, to process. Otherwise, we'd just walk around, So what if the experiences we resist the most are also the ones that invite us to look deeper within ourselves? Not because the pain was meant to happen, because we don't know. I don't know. I believe that my son and I, as far as that goes, that we had our things, and there would be times when he would do things as a little boy. He ran over himself with a golf cart. He fell on a screwdriver one time. He'd done several things that could have taken him out, and that's why I would always be like praying for him, because he would do things, And then he was 18, and one of the things that bring me comfort is that I would call him. I'd be out walking my dog Molly, who I lost last year, right about on August 9th, and I would be out walking her at nighttime, and I would call my son, and I'd be like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he'd be like, and sometimes he wasn't doing what I wanted him to be doing, y'all, and then we'd talk, and he'd say, "Mom, I'm grown, don't you?" And I'd be like, "Yes, but I just need to hear your voice." So I didn't take it that he didn't want to talk to me. I know he don't want to talk to me. He's 18 years old. But if I want to hear his voice, that's my God-given right. And I don't have to get upset because he doesn't really care. But he learned it. He liked it. He liked it. He wouldn't admit it, but he did. So not because the pain was meant to happen, not because of what someone did was okay, but because every experience reveals something that has been waiting to be seen. Okay? So the little soul wasn't trying to become something different. It was longing to experience what it already knew to be true. That we're all perfectly imperfect, as we were saying the other night. And I think that that's true for us too. Healing isn't about becoming someone new. We're not going to become someone new. It's about removing the fear, the shame, and the old beliefs, and the the protective patterns that have covered over who we've always been. We've already become other people to try to fit in. It's not about that. It's about remembering who you are, darling. So we spend so much time in our life looking outside of ourselves for answers, validation, and peace, when the greatest invitation is to look within, to become aware, to notice what our thoughts, emotions, and reactions are trying to tell us, to recognize where we've been living from fear instead of truth. And little by little, as we become aware, we begin to remember. Not remember facts, remember ourselves. We're not creating evidence. The evidence, there's Tony. Hey, remember ourselves. Remember that what this story's been pointing toward all along, that beneath every experience, beneath every wound, and every disappointment, there's something in us that's never been lost. And maybe our greatest work isn't, about trying to become anybody else to fit in or to feel comfortable in this own skin. Maybe it's simply remembering who we've always been. And that's taking that healing adventure. That's not looking outside, that's looking inside. Why do I feel this way? That's what we talk about. So as we close today, I want to leave you with the thought from this story. In the moment that I strike you, remember who I really am. That these are all catalysts for our growth, is who this really is. I like that song by Stevie Nicks that, they were all poets, and her old lovers were poets and all this other stuff, because they were. That sometimes when we villainize people, we forget the beauty of what attracted us to those people. And that was the soul connecting, so that even though we might get stricken, it was to bring us to another evolution of ourself. Thank you for those hearts. Poetry is cool. Thank you. So whether you receive this story as truth, possibility, or something, a beautiful metaphor, it invites us to look beyond the moment of pain. Not to excuse it, not to deny it, not to remain in situations that continue to harm us. That's not what forgiveness is. But to allow every experience to become a catalyst for awareness, healing, and growth. Remembering who you really are, not what they made you feel like. That was what I got to learn in codependency, that nobody gets to make me feel like a certain way. And they might for a moment, because I'm human, and I might get upset with somebody for a moment, but I'll always will return and remember who I am. So the people who love us will sometimes hurt us. The people who hurt us may never understand the depth of our pain. Life itself will bring loss, disappointment, grief, and unanswered questions. We don't have to take those experiences personally as proof that we're unworthy or unlovable. Instead, we can process them with honesty, compassion, and love. We feel them, we heal them, we bless them, and when we're ready, we let them go. Not because they didn't matter, but because our soul matters. Every experience invites us to remember something that fear tries to make us forget. Who I am beneath this hurt. Who am I beneath this disappointment? Who am I beneath this loss? When we honor ourselves by healing instead of hardening, as we honor the people we love, whether they're still walking beside us or have gone on before us, to honor ourselves is to honor the love we shared. Love doesn't end because someone leaves. And it doesn't disappear because life hurts. And it doesn't diminish because we grieve. When we choose to continue loving, continue healing, and continue living with an open heart, we honor both our own soul and theirs. I believe that's what this adventure is really about, that the bottom line is love. Not destroying our soul through bitterness, resentment, or fear, but allowing every experience to deepen our capacity to love. May you honor yourself, may you honor those you've loved, and may you never forget the truth of who you are. Okay? All right. Are y'all ready to breathe? You ready to breathe, darling? Grinch, you ready to breathe? You ready to breathe? Well, come on. Grinch is going to breathe with us. Here we go, sweet baby Grinch. Here we go. All right. So let's breathe in, because the breath, breathing in love. Let's breathe in love and hold it for a moment. What does that feel like? Sometimes it feels like pain, but we don't have to hold on to that pain. So we're going to release the pain. You know, Kim says, hey, Grinch. She loves her some Grinch. Did you see him hanging by a hair? Sometimes we feel like we're hanging by a hair, but Grinch was hanging by a hair. Yeah. All right. Let's do some breathing. So let's take a deep breath in. Breathe in, peace and love. Hold it. And release. Breathe. Hold it. And release. Breathe. Hold it. Release. Just two more. Breathe in. Hold it. And release. Last one. Breathe in. Hold it. And release. Hi, Viola. So does anyone want to share your take on story time today, or what you think that you'll carry with you as we grow through this week, and, you know, getting different perspectives on different things and such? Epic, you are very welcome. You have a great day. Was this helpful for you today, Epic? Do you think that it gave you something to consider? Hi, Viola. I hope you'll get to rewatch this. I think you just got here, and for story time. Were you able to hear story time? I didn't share my own story, you know, a story that I wrote today. I shared a different story today. Oh, cool. Cool. What'd you think about it? Was it helpful? The Grinch. All right. Does anybody have any big plans today? Yes, you'll listen tonight. Hey, Pam. I hope you'll get to re-listen. And you just came. Did you just get here? You missed the breathing, Viola. I am out and about. All right, Viola. Thank you for jumping in and saying hello today. I appreciate it. Epic. It was. I need a philosophical debate to my progress. I'm mostly at peace with these topics. Still love listening, though. Thank you so much, Epic. I'm glad that, you know, you're at peace, and hopefully it, you know, helped to give you something to ponder during the week. One day I want to hear your story. You want to hear my story? There's a lot to my story. I'm writing, kind of. I've been writing, but I think I haven't written in a while. You're on the beach. Ooh, enjoy, Pam. Thank you very much. I was sharing that my friend Sarai brought this bandana. It's actually a scarf, but she brought it back from Iran. And so I'm so lucky to have it. And I got earrings. She brought me back these earrings too. She's our world traveler, and so she goes on adventures, and we never know what she's going to come back with. Oh, I said I didn't read the stories I write. So usually on Sundays I write the stories, and some of those stories do have me in those stories. So, yeah, but this week I didn't write the story. That was Neil Donald Walsh's story, The Little Soul in the Sun. Jen, thank you. Thank you. You don't work too hard in the yard, y'all. I will be back tomorrow night. I hope that you can make it. I'll be back at um, 6 p.m., right, Kim? I want to thank Kim for moderating today. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Viola, thanks, my fabulous Martilla Art Black Belt grading this November. Woo! So are you in martial arts? You're too? I was in martial arts, so that's cool. We've got a lot in common, me and yeah. Me and Viola, me and Jen, and me and Kim, of course. I got a lot in common with all y'all, really. I've got to get going. Okay, my glove, I'm so grateful that you came in here today. It means a lot to me for you to spend your time here. Epic, tune in more often if you want to learn more about Stacey. I do share plenty, don't I, Epic? I'll be back here tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Kim. Yes, I love everyone too. Thank you all for being here. Thank you very much. I hope that if you came on late, you get to watch the replay. And Pam, do you have certain times that you come on here? Because I miss your lives too, because I'm not sure when you come on. So I know I've missed a lot of yours. So yeah, I hope everyone has a super Sunday, and we'll have a wonderful week. I'll see you tomorrow night at 6 p.m. I think I picked our topic is, does your happiness depend on someone else? I think that's what the topic is tomorrow night. All right, see you tomorrow, Viola. Oh, okay, Pam. All right, I didn't know if I was like, all right. So have a super Sunday, y'all. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Kim. Binod, thank you. You have a wonderful day, too. Thank you all for being here. Grinch and I love you very much. We do. Yeah. Thank you, y'all. You have a great Sunday, too, Pam. Y'all have a great Sunday. Thank you for being here. Watch the replay if you came in late, and I hope that it's helpful. Thanks. All right. Bye.